everyone, welcome to the Pisces Guide to Pop Culture. I'm TJ, of course. Are you a fan of myth retellings? Well, if you are, then I think you will very much enjoy Mother of Rome, which is by Lauren J.A. Baer. Now, you may be familiar with Lauren's work, or Baer's work, from the Sisters of Medusa, which she came out a couple of years ago. Or, sorry, Medusa's Sisters, which came out a couple of years ago. Fantastic retelling. Now, I know retellings are like a dime a dozen these days, and there are a lot of them in the publishing space right now. Some are good, some are mediocre, I rarely read any bad ones. Some are brilliant. Like, if you read Song of Achilles, one of my very favorite novels of all time, arguably sort of is the gold standard when it comes to myth retellings. This one comes close. I think this is one of the closer volumes I've read to capturing the sort of rich emotional texture of the Song of Achilles. Now, as you may have guessed from both the title and the cover, it is about Rhea Silvia, the mother of Romulus and Remus. Famously, Romulus founded Rome. She is the daughter of the king, but he's deposed by his brother. She is then sort of enlisted among the Vestal Virgins. She has an affair with the god Mars, has a kid, gives birth to Romulus and Remus. All the sort of beats of the myth are there, where Baer sort of takes things in a different direction, and she actually has Rhea make a deal with the goddess Cybele to become the wolf that later nurtures Romulus and Remus, which is also a big part of the founding myth of Rome. So there's a lot going on in this book. It is a rich, very narratively complex book. There are multiple points of view. Primarily, the two most interesting are Rhea and her cousin Antho, who her cousin, is the daughter of the man who usurped the throne. And so, she has an interesting point of view, given that she's not quite as, aggressive or, kind of badass as Rhea, at least not at first. But as the novel goes on, she kind of finds her own inner source of strength. She plays a key role when Rhea leads Romulus and Remus to sort of overthrowing their uncle and taking back the throne. These are spoilers, kind of, but if you've read the myth, then you kind of know where this is going. But, just because you know the destination doesn't mean the trip isn't a lot of fun. And I really, really loved this book. Once I kind of sank my teeth into it, I could not stop reading. It's one of those books that is narratively just tightly packed. The chapters, tend to be sort of short, but they keep moving along at a brisk pace. They give us a really wide panoply of everyone involved in the myth. We get some sort of one-offs where we get this shepherd that adopts Romulus and Remus. We get King Numitor. We get his brother who usurps him. There's a lot of, moving pieces, and I think Baer is very skilled at keeping those pieces really in a nice tension with each other. Rhea makes for a fantastic heroine. I love this period that we're living in where women are getting to tell their stories from antiquity, and particularly from myth, where women tend to be sort of, raped or left behind or just rendered silent. But you see this, this outpouring of authors who are working against that tradition, showing us that the women of antiquity were quite powerful in their own ways. Maybe it's not the way that we expect, and it's maybe not the masculine way, but that doesn't make it any less important. And it's, I think, reinserting Rhea Silvia into a sort of more active agent of historical change, as she is kind of pivotal to the foundation of the nation that one day becomes Rome, because of the Seven Hills, where she takes up residence as the wolf that's nurturing Romulus and Remus while they're children. Obviously that will become the sort of center point. This is a very bittersweet novel. It does end with, spoiler alert, her death, but she ends up being taken in by the god of the Tiber, Tiberinus, and they sort of, it ends with her sort of apotheosis. And in other words, she becomes immortal herself, which is, a pretty good standpoint given all that Rhea has sacrificed and given how much she has endured through the course of the book. And I will say that, I was quite moved. I thought the portions, particularly with Romulus and Remus and Rhea, because she is entitled to changing into a human once a year. So if you're a werewolf fan, there's that. I felt those moments were really deeply poignant, particularly as she lays dying at the end. Maybe it's because my own mother is, getting up there. She's not old, but she's in her 60s, and mortality is always on my mind. So I don't know, those parts really kind of resonated with me. In fact, the whole novel resonated with me in much the same way that Medusa's Sisters did. I think that the best myth retellings are those that capture the many layers of emotional complexity that the ancients were able to access with their myths. And there's always something very bittersweet, even a little melancholy about most myths in one way or another, and I think that translates really well in this book. So, I think that you will really enjoy Mother of Rome, Lauren J.A. Baer. One of the truly great myth retellings of the last few years. So it definitely gets the Pisces Guide to Pop Culture seal of approval. I think you will enjoy it. I certainly did, and I'm very hard to please when it comes to my myth retellings. Maybe it's because I write historical fiction. I'm a class, I studied antiquity. I studied the reception of antiquity. you know, I had a classics major. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why I think I'm very hard to please, but she more than pleased me, and I hope that she does more. I like seeing more characters from Roman myth. We get a lot of Greek myth retelling, so it's kind of refreshing to see Rome finally get its time in the sun when it comes to these kinds of retellings. And there are many other women in Roman myth who I think are worthy of these kinds of explorations. So, to wrap up, I did enjoy this book, and if you enjoy historical fiction, I do want to point out that I have a Roman history novella focused on Julia Maesa, one of the 7 empresses of ancient Rome. It's live now, the first 2 parts, for my paid subscribers at my newsletter, omnivorous.substack.com. So if that tickles your fancy, feel free to sign up. There are many paid options, and as you know, I'm running a whole giveaway there. So if this is your thing, I think you might enjoy Daughter of the Sun God. But that's my pitch. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me for the Pisces Guide to Pop Culture. I'm, of course, your host, TJ. Take care, y'all.